My name is Lisa Ferruccio. I have the chat open, so if you have any questions, please put it in the chat. I love to do interactive training, so any questions that come up, I do like to address them. So this is when you join Lair, you are invited into a brokerage account. Now that's definitely different than when you belong to the MLS and you get a watered down version, a basic version of Dotloop. Our CEO, Stacy Alcorn, wanted our agents to have the best of the best, and so she pays for the brokerage account. So you have to be invited into that. And so once you become an agent, a Lair agent, we will onboard you and we will send you an email that says that I have created a Dotloop account for you that's tied to the brokerage account, which has over 3,000 real estate forms. We have Connecticut forms, New Hampshire forms, Rhode Island forms. We have Florida forms. We have Maine forms. So everything is in one place on Dotloop. So you do have to log in using that email. So I'm going to show you how to log in. So you're going to go to dotloop.com. Now, I just wanted to cover this because these three companies are now one company. So you log in here and it looks like you're logging into your showing time, but it's not. It's the email that we give you when we have the invite, and you're going to continue and you're going to get your password. You're going to create a password. And now you are in you're in Dotloop. And the way you know you're in Dotloop is you're going to have the word premium over here on the left-hand side. That tells you that you are in the Lair brokerage account. So you're good to go there. So we break this training into 3 sections. You're going to be, the first section I'm going to go over is how to create your loop successfully. So how to set up your loop for success is our first section. Then we're going to go into how to submit your loop for review so that the compliance team can look over your paperwork and we can approve your loop for commission. And then the third section is all the tips and tricks that are really worth listening to, and because that's my favorite section actually, is the tips and tricks. So let's just start on how to create your loop for success. So once you're in the dashboard, this is your dashboard. And what you're going to do, 90% of what we do is going to be on the right-hand side. Anything that's blue is an interactive field, so you can fill it in. Don't be afraid, it's interactive. You can't really mess up there. So, but 90% of what you're going to do is going to be on the right-hand side. Anything that's blue is in an interactive field. So we are going to create a loop. So right here, it's on the right-hand side and it's blue, add loop, and you're just going to follow the prompts. So if you're a buyer agent and you start pulling this in, it might pull in from the MLS, or you can put in the MLS number. So we are going to, for this training purposes, we're just going to write that we're going to pretend we're a listing agent and we are going to be going to have an interview with the person that lives at 123 East Main Street. I like to put the date in here just so I know for my training. Okay, so we're going to pretend that that's the street address, and now you're just going to hit the continue button. Again, it's blue and it's on the right-hand side. Now here you have to pick a template. If I try to continue without picking a template, it gives me this warning. So you can't go any further until you use this drop down. And basically because we represent so many states at Lair, we have broken this down so that you don't have to look through New Hampshire forms. You don't have to look through Connecticut forms if you are listing a Massachusetts house. So we have templates in here all set up for you. Massachusetts listing, Massachusetts buyer, Massachusetts rental if you're on the landlord side, Massachusetts rental if you're on the tenant side, commercial. Then we have Maine listings. We have New Hampshire listing, buyer, rental. We have Rhode Island listing, buyer. We have Connecticut buyer, listing, and Florida. So for this training purposes, we're going to pick that we are the listing agent. So what this is doing is we created templates for you. So it's going to put inside this loop all of the paperwork that you need as a listing agent. It won't have the paperwork for the buyer agent since you are not the buyer agent, you're the list agent. So now again, the right-hand side, blue, we're going to continue. Here you can add a photo of the house if you want to. You're just going to go to your pictures, you upload where it is. Let me see, I'll just get one here. Very easy to upload a picture. You do not have to do this. So you could just put done and it'll create the loop for you. So I just wanted to do that because sometimes it's nice to put the picture on your loop as well. So now what is Dotloop doing? So what Dotloop is doing, it's making your folder and putting in all of the forms that you would need as a listing agent. Now, this is like having a manila folder that's closed and you have just the address on the outside. And then here, all of these blue are interactive. So we'll put that this is going to be a $500,000 house. And now when you want to open the loop, you're just going to view the loop. Now, this is like having the manila folder on your desk, and now you've opened it up. And this is where you would have put in all of your documentation that you needed. Notice it has the loop name up here, and it also has all of the forms that you're going to need right here. Okay, so what we did is 99% of what you need for a successful transaction is already in the listing folder. You're not going to have to look for any forms. We put them in there for you. But just in case there's something that's not here that you need, we made inside this loop another folder called Other Important Documents. And we put things here. Like maybe you may need the extension of time. So what you do is you can just take this, put your cursor on it, hold it, and drag it up into the listing folder, and now it's there. So within this loop, we have two folders. We have the listing folder and we have the other important document folder. If this is not clean enough for you and crisp enough, all you have to do is click on that. You just click on the folder and it will either open the folder or close the folder. I prefer to always close it because I like to only look at what I need. I don't want to look at forms I may not need. They're there, they're always there, they never go away. You just click on the folder to open it, you click on the folder to close it. So what you did is, so far we've created the loop. So now the second thing that you need to do in the loop for, this is still in section 1, how to create your loop for success, is number 1, you create the loop. Number 2, very important, please do not skip this step, is you need to add the people who are going to be involved. So what you do here, you're going to have to scroll down until you get to the people section, and you're going to add your seller here. And you're going to add the buyer agent. Once you get a buyer agent, you're going to add the seller's attorney here. And so it's very important that you don't skip this step, because in order to finish off setting up your loop for success, you're going to have to fill out the paperwork and send it to your client. And you're going to want to add the people before you fill out paperwork. And this is why, because by adding the person and giving them the role as the seller, everywhere in these forms where a seller has to sign or initial, it will automatically set that up for you. So step 2 in how to prepare your loop for success is always add the people along with their role. You should also always add your role too. Now here I am, but it doesn't have my role. So I'm going to add my role as the listing agent, and I'm going to save this. Now, anywhere that I have to sign, it's going to put my name and initials there. So how do you add your clients? Very easy. Again, it's on the right-hand side of the screen. It's blue. Just add person, and you're going to put in your person's name. You're going to put in their email, and you're going to assign them the role. This is important. If you do not assign them the role, it won't add their signature on those paperwork that we needed. So she is Mary Glavy's our seller. Now, just a little caveat here. All individuals who are going to need to sign have to have their own email address. So husband and wife can't share an email address. You are going to need this information in order to submit your loop for review so that the compliance team can approve your loop and let accounting know. I suggest that you fill it out right now, but you can always come back and fill this out. And for training purposes, I'm just going to put that. We don't need their company name. You are going to need to know the street where they live, the street number. We're going to put they live at 125. We'll put Walnut Street and in East Long Meadow, because we know that the house they're selling is not necessarily always the house that they live in. You are going to need their address. Phone number needs to go up here. So cell or landline goes here. You can discontinue that. We do not need marital status. And you're going to add the person. Now notice it has Mary Glavy, and she is my seller. And I have me as the listing agent. Now, a lot of times agents don't want to add the buyer agent here because they think that if I add the agent to my loop, they're going to be able to see everything in my loop. That is not true. Okay. They are not going to see anything in your loop unless you share a particular document with them. So it's very, and you should add a buyer agent. So I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to add a buyer agent and just write buyer agent. You don't need to fill any of this in for the buyer agent. So now I have in here Peter Marino, who is the buyer agent, and I have Mary Glavy, which is the seller, and I have myself. So what did we do so far to set up our loop for success? Number one, we created the loop. Number two, we added the people along with their role. And I can't emphasize this enough. Please do not skip that step. And number three is you're going to fill out the paperwork. So what you do is you're just going to go to the listing agreement. And what this is going to do, it's saying, do you want us to autofill, because we recognize that Mary Glavy's the seller and that you're the listing agent. And this is the property of, remember, we put in the seller's address. We didn't put the property address in. So you can fill that out there if you want to, and you can autofill it. Notice how it put in Mary Glavy's name. It put in Layer Realty. Anything that's blue is interactive fields, so you can type in any of this. So if you want to go down, now I'm going to go over this form because this is the new form, and a lot of people are not filling this out correctly. This part right here is what they're going to be paying the listing broker only. Okay, this is not what they're paying both sides. This is saying what the seller is going to be paying the listing broker. So the listing broker is going to get 3%, and you should check off net or gross. And then if you continue down here, it is asking, is the seller going to pay the buyer agent? So it agrees. The seller agrees to pay the buyer, represents the buyer. And so the listing broker to offer buyer broker a compensation, you would check that. If the seller is not going to offer compensation to the buyer agent, which we are seeing, they would check this off. Okay. And now I just want to go down here. Now I am going to sign this. This is how easy it is because I gave myself the role as the listing office agent. All I have to do is put my cursor there and sign now and adopt and sign. If you didn't give the role, my name would not appear here. Notice how Mary Glavy can sign this because I gave her the role as the seller, okay? Now, notice if Mary Glavy was married, her husband's name would be here. We'll say Dave. But just so you know, Dotloop does default to 2 sellers, 2 buyers on every document. If you only have 1 seller, you just click on the one that is not needed. You go up to here and you hit assign to, and you're going to put no one. And you're going to save this. We're not going to save and share, and I'm going to tell you why in a minute. So you're just going to save that. And now you're going to go back. It says you have not shared. Do you want to share? No. And now I want to go back because we need to fill out a couple of more forms. You need the affiliated business arrangement. We're going to autofill, and Mary can sign that. We're going to save that. And I just wanted to go to the 709 form because this is where you actually, this form is absolutely necessary if the seller is going to pay commission to the buyer agent, and this it clearly states what is the dollar amount or the percentage to offer the buyer broker fee. Okay, so this is where you're going to, so the seller in the exclusive right to list agreement is going to pay the listing agent 3%. But it never said what percentage we're paying the buyer agent. So that's where you have to fill this out. So the seller is only going to pay the buyer agent 1% here. So the buyer agent either needs to work for 1% or get the 1.5% from their buyer. Okay, so we're just going to fill this as at 1%. We're going to say net. And now Mary can sign there and you're going to sign here, just adopt. And we're going to save. Now, the reason we didn't save and share, I'm going to show you that now, is if I saved and shared all at one time, what would happen is our seller would have gotten 3 separate emails with those 3 separate documents in them. What you want to do is you fill out all of your paperwork, and then you're going to check off everything you want to send your seller in one email. So that's why we're going to do it this way. We are going to send our seller the authorized offer. We're going to send them. Now, notice how when I check this off on the right-hand side, it says share. Okay. So we want to share this document. There's the share button. We want to share the exclusive listing agreement, the affiliated business associate, maybe lead paint. And what you're going to do now is now you hit the share button, which opens up the email system that's built in Dotloop. It recognizes that Mary Glavy is the seller because we gave her the role as the seller, and it's given her the option to sign. Notice how it doesn't have Peter Marino checked off because Peter Marino is recognized as the buyer agent, and in all those forms we're sharing, the buyer agent doesn't sign those forms. So it did all the thinking for you because in the people section, you added the person along with their role. And so now here is where you're going to add your message. Hello, Mary. Please sign listing documents. Now, before you hit the share button, I want to talk about attach as a PDF. I always check this off. And what does that do? That gives your client 2 ways to view and to sign these documents. They can sign them through Dotloop, the interactive electronic signature. But say these were older parents and the kid said, Mom, I don't want you to sign anything until I read it. What you do is when you attach it as a PDF, it gives your client 2 ways to view the documents. They can view them, one, electronically, read them on their computer and then sign, or they can print them as a PDF or forward the email to their attorney maybe. Maybe they don't want to sign anything until the attorney looks at it. So if they forward the email to the attorney will be able to read the attach PDFs, but will not be able to do the Dotloop link, the interactive link. They can't change anything. So that's why we suggest that you always give your client two ways to view the documents, either electronically on their computer and sign electronically, or they can read them as a PDF, print them as a PDF, forward them as a PDF. They can always come back to the email and sign electronically, but this is a great way to send the attorney and all forms. So I'm going to share that now with my client, and it says done. Now you notice that these are waiting on others, which means you filled them out and they are waiting on others. So this is a great tool over here, because if you can't remember if you sent that extension over, if you just open up the loop and you see waiting on others, that means you did send it and you're waiting on others. If they haven't signed it yet, that's when you can call your client and you can say, hey, I don't see that you signed the extension. Can you sign it? You can also reshare these documents. So if you go to share, again, it'll say that these are shared, who has access, and here's the reshare button. So you can reshare those also if it's showing. So it's saying waiting on others. So now over here, you're going to say optional. You're going to see it says optional. Now it says not submitted. So these are just optional. It's optional until you fill it out. Then it's not submitted when you have waiting for signatures. And then when we go to our second section of training, which is submitting your loop for review, it's going to change to submitted for review, which I'm going to cover right now. So I just want to chat to make sure I don't see that we have any questions. So I'm going to go on. So the second section of training today is how to submit your loop for review to the compliance team so that they can approve your loop for commission, which then notifies the accounting team we have everything that the state is requiring and we can write commission checks. So I'm going to talk about that right now, and that is how to submit your loop for review. Now, a lot of people ask two questions. When should they create the loop, and when should they submit the loop for review? The thing I like about Dotloop so much is that the answer for both of those is the same if you're a listing agent or a buyer agent. So we all know that there's paperwork that needs to be signed by your clients before the listing goes active on the MLS and before you show a property. So if you're a buyer agent, you have to make sure you have that mandatory agency disclosure and a buyer agreement now, because that is now required in all states across the country, a buyer agreement. And so you're going to need that paperwork filled out prior to showing them the first property. So you should always create your loops prior to meeting your client. So that answers that question. And when should you submit your loop for review? Same answer for both the seller and the buyer. Right after inspections is when you should submit your loop for review if you're a listing agent or a buyer agent. And you're saying, well, why? It's not going to close for 3 weeks or whatever. Because that gives the compliance team plenty of time to check your loop to make sure that every I is dotted and every T is crossed. We don't want you to have to chase people down after a closing because there was an initial missing on the lead paint. So we do ask everybody to submit their loops for review right after inspections, because the chances of the transaction going through are very good if you passed inspections and you have the purchase and sale in place and you receive all monies. So right after purchase and sale is signed and you received all escrow monies and the inspections have gone by, that's when you should submit your loop for review. What does Lair need in order for the compliance team to approve your loop? That's a great question. And in each loop, we have put in a pending checklist file, pending file checklist, which I'm looking for it here. Here it is right here. So in every single loop in every state, we have put in pending listing check file. So we're going to autofill this. And basically, this is telling you right here what the compliance team is going to need in order for them to approve your loop for commission. So let's just go over this real quick. You're going to need, these all need to be fully executed. So if you have an offer that's not signed by the seller, you need to have it signed by the seller. So these are the things that the compliance team is going to be looking for: agency disclosure, fully executed, signed offer, purchase and sale agreement with all addendums. Now, we usually always get the purchase and sale agreement, but this is where a lot of loops are held up because there was an extension, maybe extension of time, maybe they're adding a new seller, or a new buyer. Any addendums whatsoever, everybody knows, are now part of the purchase and sale and need to be completely fully executed. Buyer agent contract, this is required in all 50 states. So now as a buyer agent, you need a buyer contract. Seller's description of property is not required in the state of Massachusetts. It is required in Connecticut and New Hampshire. Uh, Also, if in the state of Massachusetts, your seller filled it out and there's a signature on it, then the compliance team is going to be asking for it because your seller gave you information that they wanted the sellers to know. Lead paint obviously is only needed if built prior to 1978. Affiliated business arrangement disclosure also needs to be signed. That's on the buy side. On the list side, again, all fully executed: agency disclosure, listing agreement, authorization to offer buyer broker compensation. This is only required if the seller is going to pay any kind of compensation, 0.5%, 1/3%, 1%, 2%, 2.5%. This is going to need to be filled out. It does not, if the seller is not going to compensate the buyer agent at all, you don't need this form. You're going to need purchase and sale with all addendums, seller's disclosure, again, in a lot of states, this is required. Massachusetts, not required, but if the seller has filled it out, it needs to be signed by the buyer. Signed offer, you should really get a fully executed offer, because as agents, one of the things you are to do is your fiduciary duty is to represent your client well. And especially on the buyer side, you're going to want proof to your client that the listing agent did present your offer to the seller and the seller rejected it. And that's how they know, because they signed it. So lead paint, again, copies of checks and affiliated. If you have these documents, which is not a lot, believe me, these are really all state documents required, except for this affiliated business is the only form that Lair requires. All these other ones are state required. If you have these fully executed in your loop, you will have no problem uh, with the compliance team approving your loop. So how do you submit your loop for review? Right here again on the right-hand side, it's blue. You just hit loop, submit loop review. Now, it cannot do this because it's missing. We never put in the property address. We put in our client's address where they lived, but we never actually put in the property address, the MLS number, and the year built. This is required by the state. And so, and then there's a scroll down here. So anything in blue is what's missing. Now, this is just a pop-up window telling you additional details are required to submit, but this is not where you input this. It looks like it is, but it's not. So you X out of here. Anything that is missing, you need to go to the View Details tab. So in the View Details tab, here's the property address, and it has to be broken down by the street number. We're going to put Main Street. East Long Meadow. It has to be broken down by state. All these have, we don't need the county, but we do need the MLS number. So if this is a FISBO or not, it will allow you to put in the alphabetical numbers, FISBO, so you can put that, or you can actually type in a actual MLS number, and we are going to need the year built, okay? Now what you want to do is you want to make sure that you scroll down and you save it, and then you're going to go to the top and you can hit submit for review. And now it's asking you, out of the two folders in that loop, which one do you want the compliance team to look at? We did not use this other important document, so we just want the compliance team to look at our listing folder, and you have to put it's a listing review and you submit your loop for review. And now when you go here, you're going to see how it changed from not submitted to submitted. So why is this really important? Maybe you're a very busy agent and you can't remember if you submitted the loop for review. If you go in and open up your loop, you can see, oh, I did submit it. Great. So now you know. If you open up the loop and it says not submitted, that means you have not submitted your loop to the compliance team to look at your paperwork. So that covers submitting a loop for review. So far, we have created 2 loops. I'm sorry, we have gone over 2 things. Number 1, we've gone over how to successfully set up your loop for review. Uh, for how to set up your loop for success. Sorry about that. Remember, that was create the loop, add the people along with the roles, fill out the paperwork, and then send to your agent. Then we've gone over how to submit your loop for review. Now, notice how our seller, Miss Mary Glavy, did sign these documents now. Thank you, Mary. Mary's on the call. She's my uh, appointed seller on these trainings or buyer. So thank you, Mary, for signing that. I just wanted, and we do that so that you can see what it's going to look like. It's not in orange anymore waiting for signature. It's actually signed. So now I'm going to go into my third section of training, which is my favorite, which is a lot of tips and tricks. And I love this part of the training. So how do you add documents to your loop? Very easy. Again, it says add document. It's in blue. It's on the right-hand side. And now it's going to give you 3 options to add documents to your loop. You can add templates that are interactive. These are chock full of, we have over 5,000 interactive real estate forms here, all broken down by the state. So if you hit templates and you're going to go to this, see how it says Massachusetts layer master file, New Hampshire. So we broke this all down for you. So say you need a form, it's a Massachusetts, and you need, I don't know, let's do a P&S addendum. So we need an addendum, a blank addendum. So I'm just going to type in addendum in here. And let's do waiver of right of inspection addendum. So I just did that, and you're just going to copy it. And that's how you add a document interactively. If you know the MAR form, you could even put the MAR form, if you know it's a 709A, you can put in the MAR form and it will pull it up as well. Just check off what you want and you're going to okay, and there it is right there. So these are all interactive, so you can then open them up and fill them just like we did before. Autofill, everything that's blue you can check off, just save. So another way to add a document is to browse your so we just want to browse our computer. Say we went to our downloads, and I'm going to just save in my downloads and just I'm just going to find something to put in here. So you're just going to double click on that. So basically it's just browsing your computer. We all know how to do that. You're looking for PDFs They have to be a PDF. It will not upload photos. Please do not, as agents, remember your fiduciary duty to protect your client. It's not very professional. You should not be taking photos of legal documents. They should always be PDFs. So Dotloop won't even take photos. You cannot upload photos. And then there's another way of adding documents in here, which is my favorite way, which most agents don't know about. So every time you create a loop, every loop has their own email address that will take a PDF and directly drop the PDF into this loop. So let's show you how to do that. Very easy. But before I do that, I'm going to go to my email section here. Oh, I got to go back down to my training file. Let me go to my training file. And I have an offer here from Peter Marino. See how it has a PDF? So what I'm going to do is I am going to forward this PDF directly into the loop of my choosing. So how do you do that? First step is open up the loop first. Go to add document. You're going to go to this third option, which is email. This is the email that will take the email address that will take any PDF that's in an email and drop it into this loop without making a duplicate loop. So what do? You copy that. You're going to go to the email. Here's the email from Peter Marino. There's the offer. I'm going to forward that email to, I'm going to paste in the email, and it's going to drop this PDF that says offer from Peter Marino. It's going to drop this directly into the loop without making a duplicate loop. And so I'm just going to send that. And now I'm going to go over here. Does take a few minutes, and you do have to refresh. But when I refresh this page, it's going to add the PDF from Peter Marino. It's just taking a little longer than usual. There it is. Offer from Peter Marino. And here's the offer. It's a blank offer, but that's because I just loaded up a blank offer. But it did not make another loop. Okay, so this is what happens. You're a listing agent. You have your loop created, 123 Main Street. The buyer agent uses Dotloop and sends you the offer through Dotloop, but does not attach it as a PDF. When you open that email up in your email system, not in Dotloop, and you open it up to look at the offer, it's automatically going to make another loop with the name 123 Main Street. Now that's the buyer agent's loop, but you have access or can see it. So now you're going to have two loops. You're going to have yours, the listing agent, and you're going to have the buyer agent, because the buyer agent shared you the offer without attaching it as a PDF. And that makes a duplicate loop. We ask everybody to only work out of the loop they created. You should never, ever work out of somebody else's loop. Only work out of the loop that you create. So I wanted to show you that again. This will take a PDF that's attached to an email and drop that PDF directly into your loop without making a duplicate loop. I love that. That's one of my favorite things I like to teach about. So how do you add another folder? So you're the listing agent on this, but maybe you also have buyers that you think your buyer would love this house. So you're going to add a folder. Again, it's blue. It's on the right-hand side. You're going to add a folder, and you're going to name this folder buyer folder. So you just hit rename. And I'm going to write this buyer folder. And you click off the page. So now I can go to templates. I can go to Massachusetts, and I can put contract to purchase real estate. Here's an offer. I want to send this because I showed my client this house. They loved it, and now they want to put in an offer. But the way to do this is to do it just like that. You make one loop, but you add a folder. So now you have your buyer folder, you have your listing folder, okay? You may have to make a folder, add a folder, and name it backup offers. So let's say you got plenty of offers on this, but you did not take Peter's offer, but you want to keep it for backup. So now you can just drag it and keep it in the folder that says backup folders. God forbid the deal falls apart. You have all the information right here on all of the offers right in your loop, and you can then reach out to the agent through the email system to say the deal fell out. Is your client still interested? So that brings me to my next training point is how do you access the built-in mail system inside Dotloop? Well, if you go over here again, it's on the right hand side, it's blue and it's an interactive. If you hit that, that's going to open up the email system. Now notice how it has my email to Mary Glavy already in there. So anything that's black is who you're sending the email to. So maybe I want to send Peter Marino, who was the buyer agent, say, we needed an extension, seller needed an extension, and you never got it. So I can send that to him. So just click on who you want to send the email to and then send the email. Oops, I have my caps on. So I'm sending this to my client because I checked off who I want to send it to. And here's the message. Hello, Mary, please send me the signed extension I sent you. Okay, so say the buyers were asking for an extension and Mary needs to agree to that. So then we're just going to send that. Okay, so and this is where the Dotloop team is going to communicate with you right here. This is the icon for the email system. And this is where the compliance team is going to be communicating to you through Dotloop. Okay, so you'll be able to see all of your emails back and forth through here. So I wanted to go over that. Now, I want to go over one thing that we have a lot of issues with is, I'm going to go back over here, is lead paint. I want to forward this lead paint. I'm going to forward this lead paint. So to the loop and put that loop. I want to put that lead paint into the loop. Let's see, how do we do that? So let me see. I can't remember which one I did it in. I think it was this one. There it is. So a lot of times you're the listing agent and or you're the buyer agent and you get a form that's like this. So it's filled out by the seller, but you now have to put in the buyer's initials. So I want to show you how to do that. So let's just pretend that this isn't signed. And you get this off of the MLS and you're working with a buyer now. And now the buyer needs to sign initial here because it does say initial. Okay, we do not check, we initial according to what the seller says has no knowledge, has no paper, has no reports. You're going to go up to here, you're going to add an initial, and you're going to put it where they're supposed to sign. Now, notice how this initial box looks like it's in D and E. So I'm going to show you how to shrink the initial box so that there is no mistaking where this is going. And you're just going to hover over this until you see the two arrows like that. You hold and you drag, hold and drag, and you can put that in there like that. And then you're going to sign that to whoever needs to sign it. I have somebody knocking on the door. Just 1 second, 1 minute. I do apologize for that. The door was locked because I was doing the training and the mailman came. So I'm just going to go over this really quick one again. So you're going to go over to add, you're going to add an initial, you're going to put it where you want. You take the cursor until you get the two little arrows on each side, then you drag and you hold. And I can make this big. I can make it to have it so two people can sign here. And then you just assign the field to who is supposed to sign there. Okay, now notice you're never going to have a problem with the compliance team saying we can't tell what they're signing here. Okay, and so you have to you're going to have to put your initials here like that. And again, you can drag it so they can actually read it. And I'm going to assign that to myself. And because I can sign it because I gave myself the role. Just make sure that the complete address is on the bottom and you're going to save it. So I wanted to show you how to take and add initials. It's the same. You can add signatures, same way. So I wanted to go over that. That was very important. Now, another great thing, a tool I want to show you is sometimes underwriting asks for signature verification. So all you have to do is anything that's signed by your client, these three dots, again, on the right-hand side, if you click those, it gives you all these options. And one of the options is signature verification. And it's going to bring it up. And now you can either view the document, you can print the document. If you view the document, then you can download the document as a PDF right here, and you can send it to whoever needs it. Okay, so you could do it that way. Also, if you open up the document, this is just downloading. It's downloading the document. Let me just get rid of that. So let me get rid of that. My computer takes a little time here. Okay, so another way of doing it is if you open up the document, it's also right there on the top of each document. And this is why attorneys are accepting electronic signatures, because look at the day, it has the date, it has the time, it has the ID address, it has the IP address. It has all this, and this is why attorneys are accepting electronic signatures. But sometimes you do have to, they do ask you for verification of signature or, now if I do it on something that's not signed, it's not even going to, oh, it does do that. Okay, I didn't think it did. So if you go to the three dots again, it's going to give you this signature verification. Okay, but you can also open the document here. You can rename the document. You can make a copy of the document. You can show the history of the document. You can print the document, download the document, archive the document. So you could do that. So I just wanted to show you that. That is very big in helping you there is that as well. So we've gone over that. I want to go over this activity log because I love this. Activity log gives you all the activity done on this particular loop because we have the loop open. It's only going to give me what I did for this loop. Now, look how this is everything we just did just today. This is another reason why attorneys are accepting electronic signatures and Dotloop because of this. So how do you get to that is activity log. Now, why would you need activity log? Well, maybe you couldn't remember if you emailed the buyer agent something, or you want to see if they opened it, because if I emailed the buyer agent an extension and I didn't get it back yet, I can then see if they opened it. It'll say that I sent it and it'll say that they read it. Okay, so they read it, but they didn't send it back to you. So you can say to them through the email system, hey, I sent over an extension. I see you read it, but can you get me, get it signed? So I do like to go over that, why you would need that. Now I'm going to go over here to our dashboard because I want to open up, I'm going to go to my training. I want to open up one of my trainings right here because I want to show you how when you go to activity log, it's going to break it down by days. Look at this, September 27th, September 18th, September 17th. This breaks it all down, okay? And so this will give you everything. So I'm going to go back now. Now, this is when you have the loop open, okay? But I want to go to our dashboard, which is this. Now, notice how this has every single loop that I've created, for the training. And I want to go over what your dashboard can look like. So you have 3 views. This right now, it's in the grid view, which I personally like the best. Then you have list view, which is that one. And then you have compact view, which is that one. So again, I prefer grid view. You can also sort by create. Now I have this set by sort by creation date, which is giving me the newest one that I made for this training on the top. But I could do it by doing the oldest to the newest, which why would you want to do that? You'd have to scroll through all of these. So I am sorting by creation date, but I want to do the oldest, the newest one to the oldest one. So I did it by that. But you also have other options. You can sort by all of these: last updated, transaction price, list date, expiration date, that might be one you might use. Closing date might be a good one you want to use. So basically, if you put this here, it's going to give you the closing dates up here. But again, that's only if you filled out the information. It's only as good as the user. You have to fill that out when you're creating a loop. When you put something as under agreement, it does ask you, when is it closing? Okay. If I open this up, I put this under agreement, and it does have the closing date here. So you can search by that. So you can sort by closing date, submitted review, or contract agreement date. So it automatically defaults to creation date, which I prefer, and it's going to give you the most recent to the oldest. Now, right now it's showing me I have filters. I want to go over this because filters is how it filters your information on your dashboard. Notice how it has active listings here. It has under agreements. It has solds. It has under agreement. It has pre-listing. So if you're a very busy agent, what I suggest is you would hit the filter button. And what you want to do here is you're going to check off under loop status that you only want to see your active listings and your under agreement. So you're going to check off what you want it to filter, and you have to hit apply. And now you notice it's only going to have my active listings and my under agreements. It's not going to have any solds. Again, very important when you're creating the loop that you're filling out this status. Because if you do not fill out the status of your loop and you put pre-listing, it's not going to show me that when I go to see this. It's not going to give me, it's only going to give me these 2 things. So it's not going to show me that one anymore. So I'd have to hit the filter button and save and create and apply. You must name your filter. Okay, so I'm sorry about that. So when you're creating the file, when you're creating the loop, just make sure you're filling in this status, okay? Because it's automatically going to default when you're creating a loop. If you don't add the status, it's going to put one in there, and it might not be checked off as one of your filtered. So filters is very important. If you can't find a loop and you know you created it, check your filters first. So if you just want to be able to see everything just under loop status, just make sure nothing is checked. Make sure you hit apply, and you're going to be able to see everything. What is this good for? Well, maybe at the end of the year, you just want to send everybody that you did business with a new year. What does the market look like in 2025? What you could do is, or you want to send them a holiday greeting, you could hit the solds, and you're going to hit apply. And now it's only going to show you your solds, and it's showing my solds. It's doing by creation date, my most a recent one down to my older ones. Okay. So it's going to have 2023 in here. So if you wanted to send a holiday card to just the people you sold a house to in 2024, all you got to do is just look at your creation date You want to filter under solds and then just go up until 2024. Once you hit 22, you don't need them anymore. But the great thing is all that information is right there. You just go down to the people section, you hit on your person, and it'll have your client's information all right there. So I wanted to go over that. Very important to do the filter. Again, a lot of people just have this all unchecked, but there is a caveat to this. You have to make sure when you're creating the loop that you're filling in the status of that loop is very important, because if you don't upload your status from active listing to under agreement and you have under agreements and solds checked, you won't see it. So I just wanted to go over that real quick. Let me just see how we're doing here. I'm going to see how we're doing for time. Okay, we got 4 more minutes. So this is where right here, activity log, if you want the activity log for every single loop that you have, it's going to be on your dashboard. So this is saying 123 Main Street, and this is what happened. Then it's going to break it down to different addresses. So you could do activity log in the loop. You open up the loop and there's the activity log there. Or if you want to go to your dashboard and hit activity log, that'll give you your activity log for everything that's on your dashboard. So I wanted to go over that. This is a great little tool here, which I like. If you are a diligent agent and you change the status from free listing to active listing to under agreement and to sold, if you go to this reporting, it's going to give you by one click a great synopsis of your business. It's going to tell you green are completed deals, yellow is under agreement, red is fell apart. So if a deal fell apart, you're going to change it from active listing to withdrawn or terminated. Now, you never want to archive solds, because solds are solds. They stay, that is a completed address, just because a completed property, because in case you wanted to go back and you wanted to send out maybe 5 years ago, 8 clients that maybe, you know, uh, it was too hard to buy a house and they took their house off the market because to buy a house was just too hectic. And so, but now, 3 years later, they may want to, or you may want to send them a CMA of what their house is worth. And so you could do that by your filters, okay? You're going to filter all of the ones that were terminated. And now these are all the people that terminated. Again, it's going to go by status. I don't know why. I want just terminated. So now it's just going to give me terminated. Okay. So, but you have to remember, it's only as good as the user is. You have to fill this out, the status, the price. And when you open up a loop, make sure you're putting in. So if we put this under agreement, it's going to ask for the purchase price and the closing date. You should fill those out. So to give you a correct reporting. This icon gives you all your loops. These are tasks that you can do, overdue tasks or complete tasks. That's in advanced training. This is all of your people that you have, your contacts in here. So once you add them under contacts, they'll always be in there. These are your templates, like we said. And then this here is where your account. So you want to go to your account and you want to go to your profile. And you definitely want to be putting in all of this information, especially if you go to profile, because here I put in the office ID number and I put in my agent license number. If you put that in one time, it's going to show up on any paperwork that is requiring your agent license number or your office ID. So if you fill that in, just make sure you hit save on the bottom. You'll never have to fill that in again. So that's under here, under my account. And you have your personal information, then you have your profile information. So again, I would definitely take the time to, I uploaded my picture. You can do that again. It's so easy. Just hit the blue icon. So that covers our training for today. Just want to, before we end, I want to thank you all for joining me with Dotloop training. I do training once a month. So next time we'll be doing Dotloop training will be in December. All of these trainings are recorded. You just go to Lair Agent Services, you go to Library, or you go to Trainings. Go to Trainings, webinars and meetings. All of them are in there, so you can do it. Also, if we have a YouTube channel, I believe it's YouTube dot Layer Realty, something like that. But there is a YouTube channel. But again, if you have any questions whatsoever in the meantime in Dotloop, just send an email to happyagent@lairrealty.com. Your Dotloop question, they will assign your question to me, and I will reach out to you either via email or I'll actually call you because I like to help the agents walk through it so they get it in their brain, and next time they run across it, they'll know how to fix it. So I just want to go over a couple of that. So again, in the meantime, if you run into any Dotloop questions, just email happyagent@lairrealty.com. I'll see you in December. Happy looping until then. Thank you for joining me. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.